I think it's doing it.
All right.
Awesome. Do you want to take it away?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tanya with King County Equity Now. It's a research team. And I'm with...
Sean.
Yes.
Sean Glaze. I'm also with the King County Equity Now research team. I use they, them pronouns. And is that all we're supposed to say?
I don't know. I know I use she, her pronouns. And yeah, this is our podcast. We're going to talk to you about the research project that the King County Equity Now is going to be leading with the money reinvested into the community with the defunding of SPD.
Yep, that's right. So for those of you who are newer, King County Equity Now, which is a coalition of dozens of Black-led community organizations in the Seattle area. So King County Equity Now, and then Decriminalize Seattle, which is another coalition of so many BIPOC and allied organizations, came together and presented to City Council, I guess a couple of weeks ago now. And we presented a blueprint for what it could look like to divest from the Seattle Police Department and reinvest into community. We presented, it's about 13 pages. It's pretty detailed. And it includes 4 components. The first one's the research, which we'll be talking about today. It's a community-led research process, really centered on the BIPOC, Black and Brown community leading this effort. We'll talk more about that later. There are other buckets, like civilianizing 911. So if you're in a crisis, you don't always have to have someone with a gun show up. The third thing is really about scaling up the capacity of community organizations who are doing this work, who do violence prevention, who offer services that really create community safety and community health. And the last bucket is really about meeting people's basic needs for things like housing so that, people can have what they need to thrive. So we presented this to City Council as part of the divesting, 50% from the Seattle Police Department. And, here's where the reinvestments would, go. Here's what that would look like. And they loved it. And so what's really exciting is, as we move towards this, and we still need people to let City Council know how important this is. You need people to be calling every day, emailing every day, showing up for public comment, like letting them know what these funds mean to them so that they can really, stick to their pledge to do this work and reinvest in us, reinvest in community. So today we're going to be talking about the research piece, which is, one of the most exciting pieces because it's all about really highlighting the expertise of people who have been most harmed by the policing system and highlighting that expertise to really dig into what creates, true community safety and true community health. And we really outlined, the importance of compensating people for their time, compensating them for that expertise. Usually when the city wants to know something, they'll pay consultants, they'll pay people to find it out. That's one of those things that's no problem. But oftentimes that doesn't turn into dollars for community members who are asked to, show up for free, offer all of this great thinking, and then not have an accountability mechanism so that the city follows through on the recommendations and on the insights. So this time around, this community-led research process that's going to inform a roadmap, not just for 2020 budget, but also years to come. It's going to be tied to the larger budgeting process. It's going to be tied to really thinking about police contracts. And I'm really excited to see what we learn this summer and fall, and excited to pay some community members to do some research. Man. Tanya, can you tell us a little bit more about what excites you about this research process?
Absolutely. So I think that this is such a great opportunity for individuals in the community who really have already been doing this type of research. I think that community activists and people who are organizing in the community around a variety of issues have already been asking the question, what does a good public safety and health infrastructure look like for you? And what are the problems in the community? How is policing impacting your life? And so I'm just really excited to be able to see what community members can go out and learn from their neighbors and their family and their friends and be able to pay them to do that work, the work that they've been doing for so long. The coolest thing I think about this project is that anybody can be a researcher.
That's
People
right.
who are curious about these issues or curious about getting out and talking to people in their community about these issues are exactly who we want. No matter what your background is, you don't need to have any letters behind your name or have formal learning in this area. Actually, formal learning sometimes can be a bad, can lead you astray. So I think that it's cool to just, if you're interested in how policing has impacted folks in your community, or if you're interested in how public safety could look now and in the future, and health and what the needs are of your community, you're the one who we would like to be part of the research team. And yeah, I think that it's a great opportunity for that. You'll be paid. The people who you're talking to, who participate in the research, will be paid. And I think that that's so rare that you see this type of research being paid for to the individuals who are collecting the information and to those who are providing it. So the structure for this, the way that it's been written up in the blueprint, is just really community focused and rooted in really being accountable to the community and providing the resources that have always been kind of lacking in this area.
That's right. Yeah, I'm super excited. We're talking about millions of dollars, which I think is just so outstanding to be able to like really not only like allow people to get paid, which is absolutely critical to be able to do this work well, especially in a financial difficult situation, people losing their jobs because of the pandemic, people having to come up with rent all of a sudden. It's a really stressful time, not to mention like the uprisings and seeing people get harmed and like all of that and its toll that it can take on us. Like all of that's real. Like I don't know anyone who hasn't been affected by this at some level. So part of what we did is we sketched out like not just paying people, but also removing barriers to participating in this research. So really looking at cash assistance, transportation, childcare, like all of these things that we know can that can really kind of keep people from really showing up. Like we have invested money so that we will know that people can like fully participate in the process. Translations, interpretation, you know, support, all of that is in there. So anyway, we're not gonna, you know, go through each of the points. The document is linked to the Decriminalize Seattle website on their blog, and we'll also be, you know, including links in several other places. But if you want the latest, you should really be just like signed up for King County Equity Now, because not only will we let you know kind of like what's going on, like in terms of actions you can take to make sure that this happens, you know, at the type of way that we want it to happen, but you'll also just be able to like ask questions. Like real people read the email. Like we can't keep track of all the social media, but the email, like we have people that read it, and then if it's research related, it gets forwarded to us. Like it's a really good way to like let us know what's important to you. And then we also use that and use talking to people to like design this podcast. And so today we're going to be talking more about some of what we've been hearing from community members and different orgs, and we'll keep it pretty anonymous because we don't know if people want us to put their information on blast, but there are some like key themes that I think we could go over today. So I think, do you think that's like enough of a description of the research process and we can just kind of dive in?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's more information for sure. I'd definitely check out the blueprint on the Decrim Seattle website, and it'll give you a good amount of details about what this project is about and some of the criteria that will help you figure out how you can engage.
Yeah, right. Criteria, timeline, dollar amounts for all the different things. It's like, it's in there, y'all. Check it out. Oh
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to start us off by sharing kind of like what some of the things you've been hearing, Latanya, either
sure.
in the action or just in community?
Yeah. So I think one thing a lot of folks want to know is kind of what's going on right now, what's the next steps. And I think that it's still really important to be doing the things that were in the call to action. So making sure that council knows where you stand, that you support this defunding of SPD by 50% and reinvestment of those funds into the community. And there's public comments to be made over the next, several times over the next week, as well as emails. There's email script information on that you can find. A lot of times it's on social media, but again, if you sign up for the King County Equity Now email list, you'll get those things in your inbox very frequently. Also, calling we still would love for you to call your council members and let them know that you support King County Equity Now and Decrim Seattle in the demands, and that'll help push them to hopefully voting the way that we want. The other things that will be going on specifically to the research work is Sean and I will be doing these podcasts daily over the next week or so. And we're also doing teach-ins. On some days, you'll have an opportunity to do them in the morning. I'll be available in the morning at 10 a.m. And then every day there will be one at 6 p.m. that Sean will be on. And sometimes you might have the luxury of seeing us both on there. And so those are a great opportunity to kind of just pop in and ask whatever you want. They're very informal. You can bring your dinner, bring your breakfast, bring your kid, come in, pop in and pop out. So if you are interested in that, again, those links can be found on the King County Equity Now website, as well as you'll probably see them on social media. But again, signing up for the email blast and the newsletter is your best way to stay informed. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's the next like 10, 12 days or so. So we'll be just putting out as much information as we can, and encouraging the community to continue to put pressure on council so that they hear your voices and know what the community wants.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like there's the sort of all the things we said, there are the actions to take, there are these podcasts, there are teach-ins, there's all of this stuff. And then, so that's the next, like you said, like a week and a half or so. What we're also doing is listening to community members about what's important to them for this process, and using that to kind of refine things as we go. So some of that is hearing people really say that what would really help them hit the ground running is some type of framework, some type of like cookbook, something in addition to just your general, research training, that everyone who's going to be a researcher will get some research training. Like, we don't expect people to know, how to do all the things, but we'll give people some support, things like, I don't know, interviewing, tips and, ideas about focus groups and surveys and, all of that stuff. Like, people will learn that. But another thing that will be important is like really giving people a guide that they can just kind of, I don't know about you, but like when I cook, like sometimes if it's a new recipe, I'll like read it and then I'll like taste as I'm going, and I'll like add some stuff. So, but if I wanted it to come out like everyone else's, I could just follow the recipe. So we'll be providing a cookbook so people can use that to kind of structure their research. And I'm excited to be, designing that, in partnership with just different people. Someone will ask something on a teach-in, or like I'll be talking to somebody and they'll be like, what about this? And I'm like, guess that's going to the cookbook. So,
gotta put it in there.
Put it in there.
It's one of the really cool aspects of this project that you don't typically see, is that everything is kind of constantly being shaped and evolved in partnership with community. And we're not just because we have experience doing research, we don't know everything. And I think that it's really awesome to be able to get the feedback from the community about how this process, one, should be created, and what's going to make the process useful and helpful and supportive for those who are doing it, and then just how it's going to actually be laid out. And I love the cookbook. I love the recipe cookbook analogy, because yeah, you can do you can make whatever alterations that you think are necessary, and then it comes out you come up with a new thing. So it gives a lot of leeway in that for whoever is doing it, so that it fits your personality and your comfort and things like that.